evening. Thank you for joining us here on PIN for the Mystic View Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly Rackley, and my guest will be on in just a few minutes. So I'm going to offer you the Paranormal Insight of the Week, brought to you by Nightside Paranormal Tech Specialist Tyler. And Tyler says, not all aspects of our Newtonian universe are known or completely understood. When investigating, we attempt to make distinctions between the known, unknown, and the paranormal. Because phenomena which are considered paranormal are not scientifically understood, scientific instruments are not directly capable of measuring these events, which I happen to agree with them. All investigative equipment are or were derived from existing technology. That being said, a variety of equipment must be used to verify, record, test, or measure any potential paranormal event. Even then, we are limited by equipment which can, at best, only verify the existence of known energy forms and physical objects. And Ty says, hopefully, we can prove through reproduction that these are manifestations of the unknown into the area of the known. In plain English, Ty says actual ghost detectors don't exist, so results may vary, which kind of works the same way with a medium or a sensitive on an investigation. So I kind of like Ty's insight this week. I'm going to start bringing you a paranormal insight every week, brought to you by Ty at Nightside, because he's my personal tech buddy. So he knows about tech stuff, and where I do not. I really only know about the spiritual side of things. I try, but the team makes me stay away from all the technical equipment and everything. So thank you, Ty and Nightside. And before I bring on my guest, because he's doing something for the next few seconds or minutes, I want to take a moment to remind everybody how important it is to keep relationships strong and to make certain your loved ones know that you love them. One of my dearest longtime friends suddenly lost her son this past week. And this kid was, I say kid, but he was really a man. He's 26. He's very vibrant, talented musician. He was very loving and compassionate. His mom raised him to be, follow a spiritual path, and he was intuitive. And his transition was difficult for all of us to accept. And it was a shock to us all. This kid was so sweet. He called me Mama Kim, and we had really good talks together, and he would sing songs for me. And because we live so far apart, I never told him how much I appreciate him or how much he touched my life every time I would visit his mom. And since his transition, a lot of issues within their family have been coming up to be resolved. And I think death, it really is a transition, not only for the person who is crossing over, but for the family. It's an opportunity for all those things that aren't beautiful in our lives or our relationships to come out and be perfected or resolved and forgiven. David did leave a lovely message for his mom. He brought one through me the morning after he passed away, and he's off seeking new adventure now, and he's safe and sound. And his parting gift to us was to remind us that love and forgiveness and understanding go a long way in a fulfilling life and family. So, yeah, it was a difficult week. It's hard enough to grief counsel people that you don't personally love or that you spend time with, but when you're called upon to grief counsel people who are like your family, it's sometimes a difficult thing. But just remember, make sure everyone you love knows that you love them, and try to be understanding and forgive them even when you're upset with them. It's the only way to go. So I hope Mr. Yancey is ready to come on. Mr. Tim, are you there?
I'm here, and I'm ready and raring to go. Hey, that was really beautiful. I love the intro. The tech stuff was really good. And what a touching message you had for us there. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm sure as a chaplain that you often give a similar message when someone passes away.
Absolutely. Yeah, Trish and I are prayer chaplains with Unity of the Palm Beaches, the church that we go to. So that's something that's very close to us, something that we put a lot of power and a lot of faith in, is the power of prayer. So thank you for that.
Definitely. You're welcome. You can bring Trish on, too. She's more than welcome to join us.
Well, she's here, but she's driving, and look, it's like Dale Earnhardt on steroids when she drives, so I'm not going to give the phone to her yet.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're actually coming back from a science fair. Trish is a science teacher, and her first and biggest love is kids, and so we just had a blast doing that. So if it's a little noisy, I apologize, but I'm about 2 blocks from home, so it'll quiet down in a little bit here.
Oh, you're fine. I apologize in advance if you hear dog barking, because
okay, good.
I'm currently like in between homes, and we're staying with my sister-in-law. So I'm broadcasting from a bedroom in front of a doorway.
Well, you're going to hear our dogs when I go home. When I open the front door, they're going to go ballistic. So get ready.
I'm ready. Well, speaking of you and Trish and being a busy couple, how do you guys manage to combine the paranormal role in your daily life and stay balanced?
I really don't know how we manage to do it, to be honest with you. Trish goes 100 miles an hour. I'm about the same way. And it's a delicate balance. There are times when, we're just now awakening from a hiatus in the paranormal where, we haven't done a radio show in a couple of years now. We haven't been going out and doing conferences or conventions, and we're just starting to kind of reemerge from that. The catalyst for that was the Discovery Channel. The folks that do the television show A Haunting approached us about telling my brother and I our family life story there. And, it was really hard to kind of make the decision that we were going to do that. I was quite happy being out of the paranormal eye there for a while and kind of living a normal life. And but it really is true. Once you kind of get into the paranormal, there's really no way to get out of it. You're kind of stuck with it. So get ready for the dogs. You ready? Here they go. Get ready. Woo, woo. Oh, well, there they go. Yeah, so my apologies for that there. But anyway, so yeah, we're just starting to kind of get back into it. Now, I have always kind of been counseling and working with families who are victims of violent hauntings. That's something that we specialize in. So we've always kind of dealt with that.
Your specialty, is it demonology? Is it demons? I mean, because you're kind of like when I hear your name, it's always like in the same sentence with demon and exorcist.
It's interesting. My specialty is working with families who are afraid to sleep in their own homes at night. People who have something violent going on in their homes that they don't understand. And Trish's forte is dealing with children who are experiencing a presence, an entity of some kind in their home. It's what we're good at. It's what we know. It's what my life has centered around as a result of a violent haunting that my family went through. I don't use labels. I'm not real big about labeling myself as an exorcist. I'm not an exorcist. I'm not a demonologist. I can barely spell the word, but I know the phenomenon. I know how it works. I know what the catalysts are, and I know how to overcome it. I've spent a lifetime developing and working with other violent haunting victims. People like Stephen LaChance and Carmen Reed and George Lutz, the folks that were the basis for the Amityville Horror Haunting. We're all very dear friends, and quietly in the background, when we go to conferences and conventions, we talk about this stuff, and we get together, and we started to identify commonalities, things that happened that, that were, I would say, hey, this happened to me, and Stephen LeChanza go, hey, me too. So we started to find that. We started to find things that were kind of the triggers for it, some dysfunctions and things that were happening within the family dynamic that seems to bring on this type of stuff. And we really, the thing that worked for us was getting together and talking as a group about how we overcame what was happening to us. And we really studied that hard, and we began to find a lot of commonalities between what we all did as a family to overcome the phenomenon that was happening in our home. So I think we have a program that works for us. It's been proven successful time and time again. Stephen works with families as well as I do. I know that the Lutz family, George Lutz was very active before he passed away, him and Kathy, in working with families that were going through this. And so we have a recipe that works, and I'm really happy and fortunate and blessed to be able to share it with others.
Yeah. Now, I've interviewed Christopher before, and he was fascinating to interview.
Yeah.
And while I was interviewing him, this shadow, I have to say, it's like things just are drawn to him, it seems like, even now. Because when I was interviewing him, it was on video, and you could see a shadow pass across him and then go up the wall, like every few minutes. And I really believe that once you experience something like he has, and the Lutz family has, that imprint really, truly never goes away. I mean, something of it is still going to be attached to you. Yeah.
And Christopher Quarantino is somebody who I've been very close to over the years. I began first talking to him years and years and years ago. He is very religious, very spiritual. He's somebody who is very devoted to his faith. But he is also, and if you ask me my opinion, he is also someone who still struggles with this, who has spent a lifetime of dealing with a lot of family dysfunction, a lot of negative energies kind of swirling around that family, and they still struggle with this. This is not something that goes away just because somebody blows holy water around the house and waves a cross in the air. It doesn't work like that. It takes years and years of hard work, of changing mindset, of developing new attitudes and new belief systems, and of adopting a whole lot of ways of basically looking in a mirror and deciding that it stops here and it stops now. And I don't know if you've seen the movie My Amityville Horror with his brother, Danny. But, well, I'll just put it this way. If you watch that movie, it's very disturbing. And I think that you're looking into somebody who is still really enveloped in darkness and really still struggling with a lot of stuff. You know, sometimes people are haunted because they insist upon it, and I'll just say that.
Oh, I totally agree. I have clients, they call me in, most of them just have attachments that could eventually lead up to, oppression. But most of them have attachments, and what they just can't seem to get is they're partly responsible for those attachments because of their mindset. And they follow like a recipe too. They're almost always emotionally disturbed, or they've had mental problems in the past, or addictions. And there's almost always one or more of those things. And they don't want to acknowledge that they're helping to create that attachment and to keep it around.
Absolutely. You know, if you peel away all the labels that we use to identify this stuff, people call it demons, incubuses, I got a succubus on me, I got the devil on my back, I got a, third level demon from hell, whatever. Let's get rid of all the labels that we call this. What it really boils down to is negative energy. All right. It's a parasite. That's what I use. I don't like using the term demon. I don't use that with families because now we're talking about, oh great, I got a demon. How can a human fight a demon? And it conjures up images of these supreme beings that we're powerless against, and that's not the case. What it is it's a parasite. It's something that finds negative energy, these dysfunctions that you talked about. Let's look at some of the great haunting cases of our generation. Amityville Horror, for instance. You have a family who got slammed together. Chris and Danny, suddenly they have this guy named George Lutz for a stepfather. They move into this creepy-ass house. They're taken away from where they used to live and their school and the people who were their friends. And now when they go to school, they're known as the creepy kids that live in that murder house. And they're called Satan worshipers and things like that. There was a very dysfunctional family environment there. The reason Danny loved that house was because it was so big. He could get away from George. There was that kind of family dynamic going on. They hated George. Stephen LeChance, who was the basis for the Union Screaming House haunting. At the time this thing happened to him, his life situation was his wife basically walked out the door one day. He came home to find she was gone, and so was the money, and now he's homeless, and he's got 3 kids that he's got to take care of. Carmen Reed was the basis for The Haunting in Connecticut, a really popular film.
Yes.
Again, here's a lady traveling at the time that this began for her, 150 miles to the hospital to get her son to cancer treatments and 150 miles back. That type of circumstance. In my own experience with my brother, we were at the hands of a father who was unable to control himself. A lot of really violent domestic physical abuse at the hands of an out-of-control father. So we begin to see that there's already a dynamic swirling around these families. There's dysfunction. There's something that's got them off balance. They're not aligned. They're not in center. And this negative energy seems to find that, and it attracts to it, and it attaches to it like a parasite. And it creates all the conditions necessary for its own survival. Mm-hmm. It's a parasite, if you ask me. So that's what we look at. We, time and time again, when we deal with families, we find these dysfunctions. Not all the time. Sometimes, yeah, it is property. It's something that's gone on in the property that's created a big jumble ball of negative energy there. And it'll stay. Negative energy will stay in a place until something comes along to displace it. And, that's when people who work with energy, people like yourself, there's Reiki is a big thing nowadays. Mm-hmm. For me, what works, positive prayer, affirmations, introducing positive energy back into a space through house blessings. When we do a house blessing, for example, we don't go in there all somber, wearing black robes and going, Domino, Nabusco, we don't do that. No, and we don't, we'll use holy water. We'll use a crucifix if that's what the family likes. But for us, it's a celebration. Hey, invite your friends. Get all of your friends. Get all the family that you can muster together and tell them we're having a celebration at your home this Friday. And that's what we do. And everybody gathers and wear brightly colored clothes. And we go through the house and we anoint it. And we, use prayers. Spiritual warfare prayers, and it's a celebration, and it's done in positive affirmation. We don't create fear. We don't create fear-based scenarios. And the symbol of that holy water in that house and that crucifix and the anointed oil, sealing the doors and the windows of that house, there's no real power in that, but what it is a physical, tangible reminder of what your faith is. Right. It's a reminder of faith. The power is within you and within your God. He granted us the authority to cast out demons in our lives, and it's real easy if you reintroduce positive energy back into the home. Teach them about laughter and about humor, those things that they've lost because of the haunting. Reconnect them with family and friends. When you communicate with friends and family, you're expressing love. And just do those little steps to get them back to a place of center and a place of balance. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, it works, and it overcomes whatever's going on in the house.
No, I totally believe that, because even with the law of attraction or manifesting,
sure,
you have to master or raise your joy and your love level and
right,
your gratitude. And
Sure.
The more positive your words, your expectations, your statements, that eventually replaces anything that's negative and dark. It just pushes it out.
Absolutely. You know, you have people that they go to bed and they're nervous and they're fearsome and they're going, oh my God, I'm going to have another crappy night. It's going to be scary. I bet the monsters are going to come out again. Well, guess what? You just declared that to the universe. So be careful what you ask for. You know, it's like people who always go, I'm broke. I can't pay the bills. I never have enough money. Yeah, because you keep insisting upon it. You just declared it. Law of attraction. I'm a huge believer in that whatever you think about long enough and strong enough, eventually you're going to manifest that into reality, that we're co-creators with God. And whatever you blast out into the universe, whatever you declare as your intention, your statement to the world and to the universe, it has a great way of taking it and making it bigger and throwing it right back at you. It really does. So if your mindset is dark, if you have to be careful of the recipes that you feed your soul. Those things that you think about, the thoughts that you dwell upon, those types of things, that color, that makes the color of your spirit, the color of your aura, the color of your energy. If your thoughts are dark and conflicted, guess what? Your energy is going to be dark and conflicted just like them. Took me a long time to realize that. I was living in a house where I was watching my dad beat the crap out of my mom every day. He invented punishments for me and my brother that were horrific at best. I don't know if the television show is going to portray a lot of them. They were really fighting with censors because they wanted to tell the story truthfully, but Discovery Channel is kind of like, I don't think we can go there with some of it. But it was pretty horrific. And when you live in that lifestyle, just to get through another day with that type of mindset, think about the type of energy that's blasting out of that home and what might attract to it. Hey, if you hang around with bad people, guess what? Probably bad things are going to happen to you. If you surround yourself with good friends and good people, probably going to get some good things come from it. And that's the way it works in the spirit world as well. Some people are really lucky. Have you ever heard of angels and spirit guides and that type of thing? It's the same thing. It's just the opposite end of the spectrum.
Exactly. Now, and you keep mentioning mindsets, and I teach that in investigations, the mindset of the investigator or the team itself, really it's individual and team. When you're going into an investigation, the mindset or the beliefs of that investigator is going to influence the investigation itself. Do you think that's true? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why you kind of have to watch your team. There are people that I've worked with and I no longer work with. There are people that I keep very close to me because, look, don't invent demons for me. I got enough pressure in life. You know, I'm a busy guy. And you get people that just insist upon being haunted. They're all excited. You want to go in and they want to experience that scratch. I'm like, are you crazy? Do you know what I lived through as a child? You don't get to make fun of that, one. Don't hope for it, because let me tell you what, it's not that fun. I can't tell you how profound it is when those types of things really happen to you. It's not fun. It's not nice, and it's not pretty. Don't wish it upon anybody.
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
In the paranormal field lately, it seems like every time I turn around, and it seems to be like, okay, to me there's a difference between paranormal researcher, investigator, and ghost hunter. And it seems like to me that demon, the word demon, or just the idea of coming in contact with a demon is like the holy grail word all of a sudden.
Right.
Everybody wants a demon. They want there to be a demon. Why would you want there to be a demon? You don't want there to be a demon lately. I mean, it's just...
I don't know that people really want that type of experience, but I think what they're looking for is confirmation. What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife? Is there another set of energy? Is there another plane of energy out there? How does it interact with us? It's out there. I'm sorry, but time and time again, if you look through all the cases in history, clearly there's something going on. So for me, it's not a case of even caring about whether you believe in it or not. I got over trying to make people believe in this stuff years ago. For me, it's the families who are terrified to sleep in their home at night, and an EMF detector, you walking in there and going, wow, I got some blinky lights here, that don't do a damn thing to help them. They know their house is haunted. Now, there's a place for that. The realm of ghost hunter is very interesting, and there's a place for it to go out and try to collect evidence, to gather data. Sure, I need that. As somebody who's going into a home, I want to see your evidence. I want to see what you got. I want to hear the EVPs. I want to see the video footage. It helps make confirmation with what you're dealing with in there. But at the end of the day, you know what you're dealing with when it comes to it. I don't need an EMF detector. People who have been doing this for years are walking EMF detectors. I can walk in a home and tell you in about 5 minutes whether it's haunted or not.
I guess I always relate myself to a ghost box or an EMF detector because I was born that way. Like, you could relate me to a ghost box, and I happen to I don't approve of using ghost box in like an actual scientific investigation, because to me it's not viable. But I mean, it's fun to like correlate with other things, but then it's like saying, well, you don't need a medium either, because a medium is a ghost box.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. And then, like I know, and like Eric and Kim know, there is a cord or thread. I think in Japan or in the Japanese culture, it's called a kuni. There's a thread and a part of a web that once you get involved with that, you can't break away from it. I've been involved in cases where I have met entities that I've dealt with before who know me by name. That's a little creepy when you come upon the same thing that you dealt with when you were a kid, and it knows you by name and tells you of instances. It's all about psychology. It's trying to scare you. And if you give it that power, you give it that energy, and you better look out. So when people say, hey, I want to see a demon, I want to meet this and that, please be careful, because you don't know the lifetime of hell that you are not only subjecting yourself to, but these things have ways of coming at you that you never thought possible. They will attack family. They will attack friends. They will destroy finances. They will destroy houses, bankruptcy. They'll come at you from an angle of attacking a loved one that you never thought you would see coming. That type of thing. So be very careful what you wish for.
Yeah. One day in private, I'm going to have to tell you a story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're writing a book. Are you writing a book on any of what we've discussed?
I am furiously trying to get out in time for the television show book called The Booger Man. When I was young, when I was young, I went to my father one night after a night of hell in our house, and then a blind panic came and told him about the shadows that were running around in our home. Early on in our haunting, and he was pissed off. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and our closet door had opened up in the middle of the night. My brother got up in a daze, walked into the closet, and I watched the door shut behind him. And I could hear a conversation going on in there. There were 2 people, 2 voices in that closet. My brother has only talked about this twice in his entire life. We did a thing for Warner Brothers Home Video, and we've done this television show now. And he stated that there was a man in the closet, and that he had red eyes. That's how he could see him, because it was dark in there. And that this thing would pick up our toys and hand them to him while I was talking to him. That's how he could see him, because the eyes were red, and our toy chest was in that closet. I ran into my parents' room and said, Tom's in the closet. There's a man in there. There's a man in our room. There's a man in the closet. My dad was pissed. Another night where we woke him up in the middle of the night, He was a construction worker. He had to go to work the next day, and he screamed at me from the bed, "It's the," what did he say? He said, "It's the boogeyman, and it does bad things to bad children. But get your ass in bed." I thought he said booger. I didn't know what boogie was, so for the rest of my time, I knew it as the Booger Man.
Booger Man.
And yeah, and so I'm writing that book. I'm about halfway through it. It's our story, our family story, not edited, not censored. It's violent. It's horrific. It's not only dealing with a violent haunting at night, but a crazy father during the day. It's pretty exhausting. So, I'm trying to get it out because they're saying that the television show is going to be out supposedly August 30th, somewhere around in there, and I'd love to have this out for people who are interested in it, to have a place to go and read the real story,
That would be amazing. But I bet writing might be difficult because you're reliving the experience. Or it must get emotional for you to bring all that up and out on paper.
It's interesting. I really have to think about it. I can't just go in and write every night. I have to concentrate on it, kind of get in that zone, get into that darkened mindset, and then get into a place where I can write it. And that's tough for me because there have been repercussions along the way. When you give it a lot of energy, a lot of attention, you focus a lot of stuff on it. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, the chair starts spinning around or a door will slam. That kind of thing, and I'm very, very frightened of that because I have a family here now. Trish is here, her son Gabriel. Gabriel came in our room a while back and said that there was a blue light that went through his room and went down into the floor, and that really bothered me. So it's a mind game. And sometimes that's why it's taken so long. I've been working on this for 3 years, and sometimes you just have to step away from it because of that. I can't have something coming in here and messing with my family again. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I've been writing the same book for 2 years on the paranormal, and every time I get close to thinking I'm finished, I get a feeling that I have to stop. Or that it's not time to release it or whatever. But
sure.
Yeah, so I totally understand that because a lot of it is experiences that as a medium I have gone through, and some of them are very emotional, and it's kind of like things play upon each other, and I don't think some of those scenarios are completely done yet. In other words,
right?
So it's like
there's a real power and a real strength that comes from going into a home and working with a family. I get jazzed up and I get really juiced up about that because it's a little bit of payback for me. I kind of get off on the idea that, you know what, you frightened me for years, and now I'm going to get my payback, and I'm going to come in here and whoop a little demon butt. There's some real revenge in that for me. And so that comes from a different place. But to humble yourself down to recollecting another night of things slamming in your room, something sliding across the room, a banging sound that wakes up a father who thinks that you're up making the noise. And, this thing took great delight in getting us in trouble. It would make noises that my father thought was us, and at the end of his rope, and with the mindset that he had of taking us out of the house into the woods across the street and chaining us to a tree for the night. If you want to be up all night, you want to act like dogs, I'll treat you like one. And at the age of 5 years old, standing in the woods with shadows moving around outside of us, around us, with my brother, that kind of thing. And him telling me stories, and him sitting there telling me stories because I'm out of my mind crying. This thing came from the woods in our home, around our home. That's where it came from. It started when we started seeing shadows moving around outside our home. Eventually it moved in with us inside. But being out there at that time, dealing with a father who does that kind of thing to his kids, and then being outside with all this stuff going on, and my brother telling me stories. He was my savior. I don't know if I would have survived all of the stuff that happened to us back then. And him telling me stories about it's going to be okay, and telling me jokes and talking about how we were going to run away. And then when the sun comes up in the morning, now we can go back in the house and get ready and wash up and take a shower and get ready to go to school the next day. And now you're exhausted. You've been up all night dealing with crap. And now you got to go in and deal with school. Needless to say, my report cards came home a little crazy. So that was our daily life. That's what it was like in our home. And if you didn't get your butt kicked one night because Dad was mad at you because of a sound that happened in your room, then you got a couple of hours sleep. So that's what we dealt with. And now to come in, work with a family, and to reintroduce positive energy, to see them in a dark place and shine some light on that, and come in with a mindset of, we're going to fix this, we're going to get you guys back to a place of center, and we're going to give you the tools that you need to empower yourselves so that you can do this as well. That jazzes me up, and it fires me up.
And your experience, obviously, is what gives you such the passion and the energy and the positivity to actually change another family's life.
Sure. Yeah. There are those out there who are celebrated as being investigators, and they get their due, and they deserve it. Ed and Lorraine Warren, for example. You know, some of the archbishops that are out there, James Long, John Zaffis, those types of folks, you know, they're out there and they get their proper due recognition. Quietly behind the scenes for a long time, for decades now, since the 50s, there have been people who do this, who don't get the recognition, who don't seek the recognition. They don't want a television show. People like Mary Pasquarella Downey, who was the first investigator in the Amityville house. Ed and Lorraine Warren would never tell you this, but Mary Downey did a show in the 50s called The Rare and the Unusual in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She founded a psychical research institute at the local university there. And guess who her students were? Her first students were Ed and Lorraine Warren. She taught them the business. She was a very dear friend until she passed away. People like that who don't seek the recognition. There's a lot of them out there. Stephen LaChance, Carmen Reed, they all have ministries. George and Kathy Lutz had a ministry, Kathy in particular, in Scottsdale, Arizona, that fed thousands of homeless people every year. George Lutz was a devout Catholic who, on Thanksgiving, you'd find him working in a soup kitchen. That was their way of paying it forward. And they would, when George, at the end of his life, just before he died, probably a year before, he started to step out into the public eye again, and he gave a handful of lectures out there. He did one at Penn State University that I was at. He did one in Texas, here and there. And he would invite me over, and I would watch, and the thing that got him going, sure, people wanted to hear a scary story, but guess what? There was always one or two people that, after the conference was over, quietly came up and began to talk with him. And those were the people he came to see. And we were at a book signing in North Carolina at the Barnes & Noble there that somebody had set up for him. And he's signing books, and this little girl, 6 years old, oh my God, she comes up to the table and she says, "Sir, do the bad people ever go away?" He says, "Sure they do. What's going on?" And the family came up, and that started a conversation where we discovered that there was something coming into her room at night. And it would pull her clothing out of the dresser drawers and sit in the corner, a dark mass, human-shaped. And it would sniff and smell her clothing, and it would say some really vile, abusive things to her. George called Mary Downey and flew her in, rented a hotel room, 2-3 hotel rooms for 2 weeks. He worked with that family. That was the kind of guy that he was. And yet that family is labeled as hoaxers, money opportunists, that type of thing. I wish people had the opportunity to really know that family for who they are.
Yeah. I mean, just from it, well, my experience is talking with Chris. Um, he's so sincere and so religious. It's just I don't
Hmm.
see how anyone could take him the wrong way. It's just
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, his energy is too sincere, and so are his intentions.
sure. All of George's three daughters are youth pastors. You know, that whole family was turned around. First of all, they were torn in half. The family was just torn in half. I can't tell you the violence that occurred at the hands of family, one towards the other there. There's some horrific stories that come out of that. Um, and to know yet what their faith is now. And some are doing a little bit better than others. Some are still struggling with a past lifetime of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Amityville Horror is pretty good title for that, considering what that family went through. And they still struggle with it, and they still deal with it. Chris has issues to this day. You know, he's told me some pretty horrific stories about things that are going on for him now. So it's something that once it touches you, it never really goes away. You're always dealing with it to one degree or another. There's always retribution. There's always reminders along the way. I work very, very hard to keep this stuff at bay. And there's times when Trish and I just kind of have to fade out of the community for a while. And we recently did that about 5 years ago. You know, we said, hey, we're done. See ya. And so we're just kind of now getting to a place where I think we're ready to step in again. We'll see how it goes.
Well, it sounds like, you know, the TV show is going to be a major step back in for you.
Well, yeah, it's just a television show, but my prayer is that people find strength in it, that they, you know, people who are going through this, that they don't feel so all alone. Yeah, because the first thing you think in your head is, I must be crazy. Think of that affirmation. Think of what you're saying. I must be crazy. Declare that to intention to the universe and see what you get. You know, so for us, it's you know, sharing our story in the hopes that other people find some commonality in it, some hope in it. You know, we really struggled and fought with the directors to tell it in just the right way, that it had a silver lining at the end, about how we use tools of empowerment in our lives, how we use our faith, how we use our laughter, our humor, our close family bonds, that type of thing. And so hopefully people will see that and get some little kernel of what rings true for them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, was the filming itself difficult for you, like, you know, with the memories, or was it emotional? Or was it like a good experience?
Well, I'll tell you, to when it comes out, I hope that people may be a little shocked to see my brother. It almost killed me. It was really tough for him. He doesn't do this. He doesn't stand on a stage at conferences like I do and talk about this story. It affected him a lot more than it did me. And the effort to get there, to be there, to do the shots, to get through the shots, to sit in a hot room with no air conditioning for 8 hours and tell her story, not once, not twice, but about 3 or 4 times, almost killed him. He was in the hospital the next day. So,
oh my.
And, you know, that's what it is, to put yourself in that place to accurately tell the story. It was tough for him. For me, it's a little easier because for me, it's kind of like my ministry. You know, I get to get out there. And sure, people want to hear a scary story, but I get to throw all that other stuff in there, like what we've been talking about. So it's a little easier for me.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, I guess, what do you think about all the different kind of haunting shows? And I don't want to say, you know, investigative shows, because there's more out there besides, you know, paranormal investigative shows. There's like, you know, the haunting shows and that kind of thing. What do you think about those?
Well, I have gotten beaten up in the last decade, because as soon as Ghost Hunters came out with Jason and Grant, I just went, oh my God, really? You know, come on, really? You know, here's my thought on it. You take a group like that, Jason and Grant, TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society. Yeah, I said your names. And you go on television and you put yourself out there as reliable, as credible. You use integrity. You use respect for the paranormal. You're going to go into these houses and you're going to change people's lives and you're going to help them. And then you create a television show where you go out there and you're faking evidence. Yeah, I said it. You know, the great collar poll of that Grant did. Yeah. You know, just Google it. You know, you'll find tons of evidence that they're faking some stuff in there. Okay, and I get it. It's entertainment. I get it. You don't get to make fun and play with the stuff that I went through as a child. You don't get to belittle people. You don't get to degrade them, to humiliate them in that manner by faking stuff because you want to make an extra 10 grand for your television show. Right. I really, really struggled with that for a long time. And it took me a long time to come to a place where I could forgive them for that and realize that it is just entertainment. And so I've been really critical. And then I end up going to conferences and doing talks and I meet them. So I really got to kiss a lot of butt, you know, because I meet all these people after I talk crap about them. So, you know, I realized who they were because I knew them and met them before their television show. So I know who they are and I know they're good people and where they come from. And I know that they have a lot of pressure from producers to do these shows and to create compelling entertainment. So I forgive them for that, but I don't put your name on a patch and send it around to the entire country and tell people, if you're really lucky, you can be top family members and you can be like us if you're going to fake stuff and fool the public. That bothers me. And that's the only beef that I have with them. Otherwise, they're pretty cool. I've hung out with Grant. I know Jason. We've talked here and there at conferences, not personally. We don't go to breakfast, but we've waved across the table at each other a couple of times, and he's been nice and polite, and I think they're cool for what they do. Paranormal Witness, I love that show. I love the haunting. I love celebrity haunting, those kind of things, because it kind of takes the eye and the limelight off of the investigators and this silly notion of blinky lights and watch my flashlight blink. I'm going to set it down and make it blink, you know, all that crap. And it tells the family stories from the victim's point of view. That really helps for me. I'm just at a different place with it. I'm not at a place where that other stuff works for me. Everybody in the paranormal is at a different place in the path. You know, some of them are just getting started. I remember getting so excited when I was taking pictures in the 80s of orbs and going, oh, look at this, you know.
Well, you and I have been in it a long time. I'm going on like my 27th year of being in it.
Yeah. And, you know, after I've heard 3,000 EVPs from millions and millions of sessions that I've done over the years, I used to carry around a big 80-pound Sony reel-to-reel tape recorder in the trunk of my car everywhere I went. And, you know, and you play it back and you hear that, you know, and I'm like, okay, great, wow, that's cool. But I've heard so much of it now it doesn't jazz me up anymore. It's like, okay, I get it. To what end? What does it prove, finally? To what end? We have been doing this since the 1700s out there trying to figure this stuff out, and what evidence do we have? Nothing. We got great pictures. We got EVPs, you know. So I got out of that. I'm not trying to prove the existence of God. I'll go and hang out with a group if they're staying overnight someplace. If they're cool and I like them, I go and I hang out. I sit in a chair and sweat, you know. And I enjoy that company with them, but I'm not really interested in that perfect ghost photograph anymore. So for me, it's working with families, trying to just infuse positivity. It's what works for me, because I'm an old guy now, and I don't like walking around no hot, stuffy building in the middle of the night.
Yeah. It's all about resolution to me, not proving something. You just need to resolve what the problem is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think... Go ahead.
I was going to say, another thing is, I got enough crap chasing me around in my life. I don't need to go in and invite spirit to come and mess with me. Boy, I hope I see a ghost. I don't need to say that. I really don't need to see that because I don't want to see one. So I don't. I really work hard on my mindset, and I watch what I say when it comes to that stuff. So I don't go into a place and go, if there's anything here, punch me in the face. No, thank you.
I'm like, I don't ever really have to say that. They just show up, so I can't help
Sure.
them. But
Well, that's the fun part of it. I get frustrated. I see everybody running around with their equipment. I was at Florida State Mental Hospital, which is abandoned, and there's crews going through there, and they got lights and blinky things and crap in their ears, and they're walking around with parabolic microphones, and all. Elvis could have walked down the hallway, and they would have never seen him. They were so busy looking at all this gear. And finally, I took a couple of them, and I said, look, I'm going to introduce you to a new way of interacting with spirit. Come with me. We walked down the hallway, and I said, just quiet your mind. Take a deep breath. Relax. Let your shoulders go. Let all the crap and the stress of the day, just let all of that fall away for a minute. And just focus on sending love and sending light, whatever that means for you. I want you to send love and light throughout this building. And we just sat there and kind of held that space for a moment. And then I started talking, and I said, hello, if there's anybody here, I talked to the doctors, and it's okay. We want you to step out of your rooms. We're here to talk to you. So whatever you have to say to us, now is your chance. If you're being held here against your will, maybe you don't like your medication, now's your chance to tell your story. We're here to listen. You would not believe the stuff that started happening in there. One of the guys saw a big black shadow standing down at the end of the hallway. We started getting pelted with little things were getting thrown at us. Started hearing whispers. The EVPs went nuts. You know, lose the equipment a little bit and just focus. If you're going to interact with spirit, you have to be attuned to spirit, and don't count on your EMF detectors. Develop a mindset where you are open and attuned and fully present to spirit in that room. You're going to have a lot more positive results, especially if you treat it with respect and don't go in there all that provocation crap that you see Zach and the boys doing. It's, you know, it's disrespectful to me.
it is. I try to match the vibration of what I think is there, and try to, have compassion and understanding. And I invite them to present themselves or to communicate. Yeah.
Right.
Love goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. I don't necessarily try to match the energy that's in there, because sometimes if you're in like a state hospital, you have people who are in there who are confused, who are frightened, who are a little nervous about their environment, that kind of thing. All I bring in there is love and light, and I'm enfolded in that, and here, come get some if you want it. And that's kind of how I approach it. And I find that a lot of times we get results. And sometimes it's not nice. Sometimes these things are frightened by that type of energy, and so they rebel against it. I've been called a lot of names on tape. But 9 times out of 10, they're very curious about it, because you're approaching them from an environment of, energy rather than all this scientific study. So, hey, you said you wanted to talk to Trish for a minute, didn't you?
Sure.
She just walked up. Say hi real quick. Hold on.
Hey there.
Hi, Trish. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good.
Sorry we had him a little chaotic in the beginning.
Oh, that's fine. Usually I'm the one chaotic in the beginning.
I hear you. So how's it going tonight? I haven't been hearing what he's been saying. I hope he's doing you well.
Oh, he's awesome. He has done awesome. Yeah.
Oh, great. Great.
So I'm going to see you guys at PIA this year, so.
Oh, awesome. That would be great. It's so good to be able to do those things and kind of go see people that we don't get to see very often, or only see on Facebook, or, things like that. We so enjoy the time doing that. And PIA is such a great event for that too. They treat everything with such respect, and it's so wonderful to see the gathering of people that come there. It's a great time. I highly recommend it.
I agree. I didn't go last year. I went the year before last. It was kind of hard for me the last year because it was the year that Scott died, our founder. And
yes.
Yeah. And so the next year, I kind of just couldn't handle going last year because it was just, it was so devastating for me when Scott passed.
Oh, that's understandable. That's understandable. I know that Tim, when his friend George Lutz passed away, I know that he stepped away for a while as well. And it's, you've got to give it your time to heal and give it that respect, and then you can step back in when you're ready.
Exactly.
But we're glad we'll be seeing you this year for sure.
So am I.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me give you back to Mr. Yancey here.
Okay, thanks,
It
Trish.
was great talking to you. Take care.
I will. You too.
Okay. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm back.
All right. Well, I got to start wrapping up. So how can everybody find you?
You can't. No.
You can't?
No.
Well, I found you.
We have started doing our little homegrown podcast again, and it's at EncountersLive.com. Yeah, EncountersLive.com. And we're on there Saturday nights from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's a mess, and we're just goofing around right now. We're just trying to figure out the best format for it. So we're not really doing a show. We're just sitting around laughing at each other for 2 hours. But it will eventually morph back into what we want it to be. And I'm hoping that eventually that this will turn into part of the PEN network with you lovely folks as well. I'm talking with Eric now on making that happen. I really want to make it happen. Life is really busy and hectic right now. So it'll eventually happen. But that's what you can find us. You can, if somebody feels like they need to reach out to us, you can do that one of two ways. Trish, as I said, if you're attuned to that mom energy, her email address is emailtrish@comcast.net. That's the full thing, emailtrish@comcast.net. Mine is timyancey@comcast.net. So if there's somebody out there that feels like they need to get in touch with us, they can do it that way.
Great. Well, Tim, I want to thank you again. I hope you'll come back.
Thank you so much. We were all over the place and rambling like I usually do, but thank you so much. Now, you're coming to PIA this year?
I certainly am.
You better. We'll buy you dinner or lunch or
Awesome.
look forward to spending some time with you, okay?
Same here. Thank you.
You take care, and thank that wonderful guy, Eric, and Kim Forrest, who I know is in the background making this happen. Thank you, guys. We love you much, and we'll talk to you later.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching The Mystic View. Remember, illumination becomes you.